Hello, welcome to lesson 1 in Spiral 4. So today we are starting with the concept or topic of line of best fit. And your goal by the end of this lesson and after you complete the work is you should be able to demonstrate an understanding of how to draw a line of best fit and talk about why or what type of data it represents. So line slash curve of best fit. So we're looking at two different possibilities. It could be a line or it could result in a curve. And when it comes from, it's used to show a trend in a scatter plot. So we're going to be drawing some scatter plots in this unit. It helps us make predictions, and there are two types. We have a line of best fit. So we have a line and curve of best fit. All right, so in the graphs below here, we're going to quickly plot these points out so you can see exactly how this will look. So I'm going to go, by the look of this scale here on the bottom, I'm going to go up every square is, I'll go by ones. Let's spread it out. Let's go every other one is a 1. So we'd have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm going to go up by, what do we have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So let's go up by 10. All right, every block is worth 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 20. So if I plot the points, 1, 2. So that would go right there. 3, 10. 1, 2, 3, 10. 4, 14. 4, 2, 4. And 7, 26. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 22, 6 would be right there. So here we go. We have 4 dots, or that's our scatter plot that we have plotted here. So what would happen is you would basically take a ruler. So I'm going to use a line here. So you take a ruler and you make a decision. Do these points pass through or pretty close to the line itself? So if I grab my line and play with it just a little bit, so you play with it with the ruler a little bit, you know what, it looks pretty good. So a line of best fit is what I would use here. So for how to do it, using a ruler, place the ruler so that most of the dots are on the ruler's edge. Ruler's edge. All right. So you take that and you kind of slide your ruler around just like I did with the line of best fit there, or that line that I drew, and you can see that you're going to have dots. Now there are going to be times where you're going to have dots, so I'll do this in a different color. Even if you have dots off of here, so it's like in the earlier case, we said this appears to be a linear relationship. If the green dots, they don't have to sit right on the line. Basically, the line of best fit, if we remember talking about earlier lessons here, the line of best fit just goes down the middle of our corridor. So we talked about earlier in Spiral 2, I believe, on drawing our corridor. All the line of best fit is, it's the line that goes down the middle of the corridor. All right? So if we look at the partner then, the curve of best fit, and we'll go by the same scale here. So I'll go by across here, every 2 squares is a value of 1, and going up, 10, there's 20, there's 30. All right, so plotting my points on this one. So 0, 5, 2, 4, oops, 1, 2, 3, 4. I think I'm off a little bit with that. Let's try that one more time. 1, 2, 3, 4. Here's my 10. 1, 2, 3, 4. 20. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 30. That's better. So first point would be right there for 0, 5, 1, 10, 3 and 20, 4 and 25, right there, and 6 and 35 is up here. All right, so it's funny, the numbers there, that also seems to form a line of best fit. All right, so again, if you take a ruler, it follows along pretty good there. So I think this table of values, it must be just the way I've plotted it, but let's assume that it doesn't form such a nice line. It's probably the way I've drawn my dots here. All right, so anyway, if it doesn't form a straight line, we just draw a smooth curve through the points. So just the way I've drawn my dots. All right, so in this case, using freehand, so no ruler, using freehand, connect the dots with a smooth curve. So you just draw the smooth curve as best possible. All right, and it's the same idea as I just talked about before. Really, it would be the curve would be down the center of the corridor. So think back to Unit 2 when we were talking about corridors. That line of best fit is just the center of the corridor. So flipping over. Talking about positive or negative correlation. So positive correlation, so if we were to draw a line of best fit here, you are going uphill. And the reason for this, if you are going up on the y-axis, that's going up, so it's positive, and positive direction on the x-axis. This is what we call a positive correlation. All right, so it's a positive correlation, this first one, because it's going up to the right. Now, for the next one, if I draw a line of best fit, so if I just use my ruler, if you look at this one, this time you would go down. Well, down is usually negative values across. So we would have a negative in there. So when it's going down and to the right, it is a negative correlation. Negative correlation. Then we talked about this already in the Unit 2, strong or weak correlations. So if you were to draw lines of best fit for each of these, all of these dots pretty much fit right on the line. So we would consider this one a strong correlation because almost all of the dots fit on there. All right, now for the next two, the majority of the dots fall on the line for this next one. We would call it, so in the second case here, most of them are on there. I would call this a moderate. It's kind of the middle one. A moderate. And finally, this other one, the corridor is wider. So if you think of it in terms of a corridor, so my corridor is right here. If we do a corridor here, you can see your corridor is much wider than this one. So when the corridor gets wider, we start classifying it as a weak correlation. So strong is if all the dots fall on the line. Moderate is if most of them fall on the line. And weak is if some of them fall on that line. All right? If you have any questions with that, it's a good time to stop the video and ask for clarification. Flipping over, then we get the instance where there's no correlation, no relationship. And that's basically the only way to contain the dots is to draw a box where a corridor won't be applied. So scatter plot shows no correlation when no pattern appears. So if the points are roughly enclosed by a circle, I always go with a box. There is no correlation. All right, so we have a couple of examples here. Water temperature and the depth in the lake. So if we were to create a line of best fit or a curve of best fit, we have to ask ourselves what would best suit this situation. If you look at the bottom part here, these three dots seems to be balancing out or leveling out. So that's why I would say this is not an example of a line of best fit. This is probably a curve of best fit. All right, so we would say this is a curve of best fit. Now, you can definitely do professional judgment here. And in this case, I'm going to have some people that are going to draw it as a line. So, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. So if you've already got it drawn already on your note, don't worry about it. But it is possible to draw a corridor here. So then taking your ruler, your line would go down the middle. So the or situation would be, so curve of best fit, or if you were to draw a line, we would say this is a, now the dots, some of them are on the line, some of them are off, so I would call this a moderate negative correlation. All right. Flipping over to the next one, the next example. In this case, again, if you take your ruler, you can see that you can draw a line through the majority of the dots. And if you go through the majority of the dots there, again, if you're to draw that corridor, making sure all the dots are inside that corridor, we see it's not a strong or a perfect relationship. We can see that there is some dots that are off the line, but they're not bad. So again, I would say for this one, I would call this one a positive moderate correlation. So again, positive because it's going up to the right, and moderate, saying the strength is kind of in the middle. So the question up here is, will each person draw the exact same line of best fit every time? And the answer is no. It's going to depend on where you hold the ruler. But you're going to be within reason. You're all going to be pretty close when you do your line of best fit. So again, using your ruler, you kind of line it up. So the majority of the dots, most of them, oops, you got about half the dots on this side of the line and half the dots on that side of the line when you draw that line of best fit. So if you start with the corridor, if you start with the green, then you kind of just eye it and put your ruler down the middle, and that will represent your dots of that, or your line of best fit. So no. If not, who is right? Well, there is not one right answer unless you use software, unless you use a computer, and computers will do this for you. Now, for example, on this one, all right, so in order to make this fit, my corridor, it's going to look like this and like this, which means when I put my ruler down on here, draw the line of best fit, we kind of go through there. We got quite a few dots, and hardly any of the dots are falling on this line of best fit. You can see that there's quite a spread here. So in this case, I would classify this one as a weak positive. Again, it's going up and to the right, weak positive correlation. So that is the key to this particular unit. So I'm going to want to see when you do the work, you are going to include either positive or negative in your description. Negative. The second part of the description, you are going to use weak, moderate, strong in your description. So you need to have a component from stage 1 and 2 here when you do up your description after you draw your line of best fit. If you have any questions with this, please ask the teacher for clarification. This will allow you to attempt the assigned work with this. If you have any questions, again, make sure you ask your teacher. See you in the next video.